Refrain, unenvied, powwow, zodiac, wobbly, earthworm, uninvited, trusty, turkey, confusion. And hi everyone, my name is Stormi the Folf, and you might be wondering, what the heck does security, or rather cybersecurity in particular, have to do with the furry fandom? Well, lots! Our community has exploded with growth since the internet became a mainstream thing. And while the internet may have been around since you were born, that's not the case for a lot of us older furs, because things were a little different back then. We aren't just a single geographical locality. We don't have our own city dedicated to furries, at least not yet. We're scattered all over the world, and at the time, the only people who really knew about the fandom were furries themselves. The world was a little different before we had YouTube or Google. Without the internet, the furry fandom would not grow to the massive and continuously growing community that it is today. Granted, there were probably a few message boards, or rather bulletin board systems back in the early 90s dedicated to furries, but now we're getting off topic because that's for another video. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's talk about InfoSec, or rather InfoSec, because we're talking about information security pertaining to the furry fandom. And because this is information on the furry fandom and how to keep what you do secure. Do you use Fur Affinity, Furry Amino, or another furry related website or app? In the land of cyberspace, there is unfortunately no such thing as a 100% foolproof secure system, and that number lessens when you don't act proactively on things like passwords and updates. So first, let's talk about the importance of passwords. Look, I get it. You want to use a password that you can easily remember and recall that doesn't involve the mathematical equations required to materialize a flux capacitor out of thin air. But simple passwords are unfortunately easily exploited, especially if you've angered the wrong person. Life's just not fair sometimes, but we gotta make the best of it. If you can't come up with a secure and complex enough password, try a password manager. And one thing you should never, ever, ever do is use the same password on multiple websites. You should have a unique password for each and every application or website you use. We'll get to that in a minute, but how do you keep up with so many passwords that you're probably not going to always remember? This is where a password manager comes in, like Bitwarden, which is a free open source program. You can also try KeePass, LastPass, or 1Password. Not sponsored, I swear. Password managers not only remember your passwords, but they encrypt them so that the company that built the password manager can never, ever see them. Furthermore, password managers come with utilities for generating random passwords for every website you visit. Remember I was talking about how it's kind of a pain to come up with a really complicated password you can remember? This is where they really come in handy. But to access all these passwords, you need what's called a master password. A master password will gain you access to all the passwords that you have saved. But how do you get a master password? Take a dice piece and roll it, then write down the number. After you wrote down that number, do it again 5 more times. Once you're done, you'll have a 6-digit number. Use a word list like this one right here, and match up those 6 numbers with the word. Write down that word. That is part of your master password. Now repeat that process at least 9 more times, and then you'll have a password that's 10 words long. Or in industry lingo, roughly 128-bit security. Now it might seem kind of excessive, but you really can't put a price on your own information and security. If you get confused, just go back and re-listen to what I said, because I know it can be a little weird trying to make a password in such a way, but really this is a very good way to generate a secure master password. In my opinion anyway. There are other ways to do it, but this is one of the easier ways to come up with a secure password in my opinion. Now when it comes to backing up your master password, consider writing it down on a piece of paper and store it in an extra safe place that no one would ever think about looking. Or if your wallet never ever leaves your site, just store it in there. But yeah, just don't tell anyone you put it there. Keep a very close eye on your stuff. That should be common sense. Now, if you don't want to write it down, which really, it's a good idea to do so, but I totally understand if you don't want your master password anywhere in any way, shape, or physical form, one way to remember it is sing a song. Just make sure no one's listening to you. Refrain, unenvied, powwow, zodiac, wobbly, earthworm, uninvited, trusty, turkey, confusion. I never said I could sing, okay? And don't you dare use that password for anything else except your master password. If you have other master passwords, that means generate a different password for each and every one of them. Never use the same password for anything. And don't you dare use that password I just came up with. It is now null and void, and I just totally made it up off the top of my head. Also, you really want to keep this sequence entirely random. Don't just pick 10 words you really like instead of rolling dice. That's a very bad idea, because if somebody knows you well enough, they might figure out what that password is. The reason 10 random words is so secure is it basically roughly equals out to 128 bits of security, which is an industry standard, which I could try to explain, but it gets really mathematical, and I'm bad at math, so yeah. 128 bits of security is considered adequate security for an encryption key in most companies. And remember, this isn't the only way to create a secure password. And when it comes to making randomly generated passwords, the longer the better. And remember, do not use the same password on anything else. Use one unique password for every account. That doesn't mean use the same password on both Furry Amino or Hotmail or Furfinity and YouTube. So the reason I say this is because if a password gets leaked from one website, that password could be used for malicious purposes to log on to your account to another site, which might have that same password. It's really not something you want to chance. Another thing, do not give out your password or login information to anyone except the genuine site or application itself. You never want to give out that stuff to a human being. The passwords and the username are there to be processed by computers and not living beings. Don't even give it to your dog if you have one. Don't give it to your cat either. If you get an email asking you for your username and password, check things very thoroughly. Check the email header to make sure it's really from the actual website and not some ding-dong's Yahoo account. If you get an email asking you to do something like you need to verify your account or reset your password or whatever for security reasons, you need to make sure it's really from the website itself and not just some Gmail or Yahoo account. Because if you get something like that from the official website or business, it's usually going to be in their email header and it's not going to be some random knockoff or misspelled name. That's another thing you want to keep an eye out for. Check the grammar and the spelling in the email. If something doesn't look quite right or seems a bit off, don't be afraid to contact the website administrator to see if you can verify things. That's known as phishing. Phishing is the fraudulent practice of sending emails purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal personal information, such as passwords and credit card numbers. You got that? It's nothing to play around with, so be really careful about that. And no administrator or living being working for Furry Amino should ever ask you for your password. That's just an example. That means if somebody sends you a private message and be like, hey, we need the password to your Furry Amino account or we're gonna ban you. You should report them immediately to one of the Furry Amino curators or administrators if that ever happens. They're not real. They're trying to steal your information. Don't let them do that. If a site offers two-factor authorization, consider using it. Just avoid using SMS or MMS messaging because those things can unfortunately be intercepted. And now, let's talk about software updates. Yeah, they're annoying, they're time-consuming, they get in the way, but they're unfortunately necessary in a day and age where everyone and everything is connected to the interwebs. Heck, your own toilet might be even using the internet. Just imagine if somebody hacked a toilet. That's not a pleasant thought, is it? And as security holes, bugs, software instabilities, and other vulnerabilities are exposed or found, updates are there in an attempt to patch things up, which they usually do. But as time passes, more holes are found, more things are broken, and security standards are constantly changing, so updates have to be put in place to keep up with these standards. Because if they're not, things fall behind, certificates expire, new holes are found, and you see where I'm getting at here. So you should always apply updates if an app requests them. I used to joke about things like, back in my day, we didn't need updates to play video games, we just put the cartridge in and that was it. But back in the day, my Sega Genesis wasn't connected to the internet. Back in the day, there were far less people using the internet. So you really need to keep those updates updated. Avoiding updates really puts everything at risk and could even break the apps that you're using. Like Skype or Telegram or Furry Amino suddenly might stop working. And if they're really out of date, you might have to uninstall it entirely and just download the new one. Basically, if it uses the internet to work, it needs to be continuously updated as the internet evolves. And now we're going to talk about operating systems. Whether you're using Android or iOS, you want to keep things up to date for security's sake. If you're using desktop, laptop, or a tablet equipped with Windows, macOS, or even Linux, security updates, again, are just as important. I know they're annoying and they get in the way, but many times you can choose to schedule updates to work better around your schedule. If you pass on updates, you're leaving yourself open to potential attacks. And while the chances of you being specifically targeted are low in the grand scheme of things, can you imagine how stressful it would be to lose access to all your stuff online? Like somebody taking your own avatar and making you look like a complete idiot? Yeah, take pride in yourself, keep everything secure, keep all your stuff updated so that won't happen to you. And when it comes to web browsers, again, keep it all up to date. There are extensions you can install like HTTPS Everywhere, which enforces a secure HTTP connection to websites it supports. HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, which is an extension of HTTP. Basically, it ensures your connection to that website is encrypted. Furfinity is widely used by the furry community, and unfortunately, it does not use HTTPS by default, which is not really good. Most big-name websites use encryption through HTTP by default, but there are still a few floating around that just don't use it at all. Without HTTPS, your connection to Furfinity is unencrypted, and things like your password might get stolen under the right circumstances. So don't chance it. And HTTPS does more than just protect your privacy. It can stop people from messing with the web pages and injecting malware into them, which is still a pretty big problem these days. And if you get an error that says the site certificate has expired or your connection isn't secure, make sure you have all the latest updates for your OS and browser. And make sure your clock is set correctly too, because if you don't have the time and date set correctly, things start to act a little weird. And don't ignore or try to bypass any of those warnings. Also, there are other extensions like NoScript which you can use to disable Java, JavaScript, and Flash on websites where you want to take additional steps in protecting yourself, should you need to. And Flash in itself has basically been replaced by HTML5, and it's expected to finally end in 2020, so after that, it may not be regularly updated anymore, so that's another reason to not use Flash. And now for some final thoughts. Slightly unrelated, but when attending conventions, especially larger ones like Midwest Fur Fest or Anthrocon, you're more at risk to having things like your credit card skimmed from an ATM. And you don't even have to use your card at the ATM for this to happen, which is kind of scary. All you have to do is walk past the wrong person with a scanner, and boom, they got all your account information. They're going to take your monies. If you have any cards that use an RFID chip, you should really invest in a Faraday wallet. Faraday wallets are made of a meshy metallic material, which basically blocks any electronic fields used by card scanners from penetrating the wallet and reading that chip. Additionally, it's also a good idea to bring a little cash if you plan on shopping at the dealer's den, so you don't have to risk using ATMs that might have skimmers attached. Just don't expect dealers to break like $100 bills if you're spending like $5. That's just a bad idea. You really shouldn't do that anyway. Bring smaller incremental bills like maybe 20s or even 10s. Okay, this video isn't meant to be an all-encompassing discussion on cybersecurity, because if it were, I would be here for hours or even days trying to cover everything. That being said, if you really think I should make a part 2, or if you think I did a terrible job, please let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about it, consider checking out decentsecurity.com, which is an excellent site on learning the basics and more to cybersecurity. And none of this video was sponsored, I swear to the potato gods. And I'm gonna go back to doing furry topics again soon too. I just thought this vid would be a fun idea given how strongly the internet has impacted the furry fandom and how it's helped it grow. Also, a big special thanks to SoTalk for helping me produce this video. I hope this wasn't too hard to understand. If you were confused by anything, definitely leave a comment and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. If you enjoyed this video or if you found it helpful, consider giving it a like, maybe leave a comment, maybe subscribe, share it with the other furry friendos. Let me know what other topics I should cover pertaining to the furry community. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!